Hello, and welcome back to Cabincast. My name is Oliver, and I'm joined today by Chris.
Hello.
Jamie.
Hello.
And Emily.
Hello.
Yeah, got Emily back
guest.
from that one other time that we did a thing. Everything's left my head apparently.
Mitchell's versus
the
the
Machines, which was a
Yeah,
great
that-
film that we are yet to talk about. But we didn't scare Emily off them.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, we've got her back now. Sadly, we do not have Tom, but we did get kind of his thoughts at the end of his reactions, or will get his thoughts at the end of his reactions. This is going to be another strange one because we've not even put up the show yet on the channel. This happens. It's strange. Anyway, channel podcast channel
Blame
thing.
management.
Yes, it is my fault. But no, we are here to talk about, because I haven't actually said what yet. I mean, it'll be in the title of the episode, I'm sure, but still probably is a good idea to do. The Promised Neverland, which is a show that we watched as part of Cabincast Reacts, or will watch. Yeah, that's going to get confusing. But yeah, it's a show. It's an anime. It's adapted from a manga, and it's pretty great, I think, is the general consensus. At least the first season.
It's very good.
Yeah.
We're mostly going to be talking about the first season, very little of the second.
Yeah, like
There's only
like Jamie
two
says,
people here who really understand the second season.
Yes. So me and Jamie have absolutely no idea. Emily has seen and read, is my understanding.
Yep.
And
So
has thoughts.
yeah. Since season 2, and then obviously read about volume 9 or so of the manga for me.
Okay.
Okay, just
And
under
Chris-
halfway then.
Yeah, about halfway through an arc at the moment, which I won't
Sure.
say because of spoilers.
Indeed.
And I can't remember how many volumes. I'm thinking about the same. That sounds about right. 9.
There we are.
And have not seen the second season,
Yes.
despite its glowing recommendation.
Indeed. Yes. So we do touch on that when we have our Cabincast Reacts episodes coming out. So keep an eye out for them. That will come up there as a recurring joke. You've been warned. Also, spoilers in general for The Promised Neverland. Highly recommend watching it.
Or reading it.
Or reading it, or indeed maybe both.
Both
Both
is
have
good.
their pluses and minuses. But yeah. So before we get into that, a brief synopsis of at least what happens for the first season and all that kind of stuff. If we go around how people came about this show, Jamie, we'll start with you because this shouldn't take too long, I don't think.
Well, you see, you told me. End of.
Yes. I was like, hey, so we could watch this show, or we could watch this show, or we could watch this show. And
I
the other
chose
show
this
was
show.
Demon Slayer, by the way. And Jamie was like, well, I've been considering watching this one, but this one also sounds very interesting. I was like, well, this one's shorter. Cool, we'll do this one. And then we did it. So yeah, thank you, Jamie. For me, a reaction channel that I frequently watch, watched it, and I was like, I've got nothing better to do apparently. Why not? I'll watch it as well. And was like, wow, that's really good. So yeah, again, it's not too complicated. I feel like we may have gone over this in our Cabincast Reacts, but for context, Chris,
My current landlord / housemate is obsessed with about 5 different mangas, and whenever the idea of manga anime is mentioned, he will bring up one of these. And so eventually he started buying me one of them, which was The Promised Neverland. That I started reading, and then as a way to compare to the manga, I joined with the reacts of the anime. And that was that.
Indeed. The rest, as they say, is history. And Emily.
Yeah, so I first discovered the show. I think it was on Crunchyroll, I believe, but I also recommended it as well. So I watched the show, and then after the show was completely wrapped, like for season 1, I thought, okay, I really, really enjoyed this. Like, love the characters, setting, world, everything. I'm gonna read the manga because it sort of just understands like what the original source material was and how it sort of differs from how the anime got adapted it, and just what was different really, and the changes they made, because there was quite a few things that was not shown in the anime, which was quite interesting.
Sure.
Like more context, mostly.
Yeah, of course. So we've got we've got quite a set of perspectives, because we've got Chris who read it first and then watched it. You were the opposite, Emily, and then Jamie. As far as I'm aware, you've just seen it through the one time.
Yes, the time we
And
watched it was the only experience I have with it.
Yeah. And I have seen it through at least 4 or 5 times at this point, because I really enjoy it, and it's not that hard to rewatch, and it's not that long.
That's true. I think I've seen it about twice.
Yeah. Also, for context, we watched the sub in our reactions. I have watched both the sub and dub. I don't know about Chris and if Chris has only seen it through once, then
only the sub.
Yeah, first viewing I watched it in sub, and then I think I've got the DVD of it now. I think I started the dub a little bit, but I am preferring just how, because when you listen to a show for the first time, obviously the character's voices just stick with you. So I think I preferred the sub at the moment.
I had a strange experience where because I was watching it on Crunchyroll or something, we watched it on Netflix this time, but I initially watched it on Crunchyroll. And sometimes that would start it in English for me, and sometimes it's got them set up separately, but if you click on them in one place, it'll play the dub, another place it plays the sub, and I'd mix and match and not bother to change it. So I kind of went through the first time listening and to both the English and Japanese, which was an interesting way to do it, but means that I do kind of appreciate both. Both definitely work. I think I've been pretty lucky so far in the animes that I watched, that when I have watched dubs, they've never been bad.
Dubs have definitely been getting better. I remember when I first watched Clanad, I watched the dub, and that's the early 2000s, and it wasn't horrible. It's not as bad as some of the things I've seen for Dragon Ball, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and Yu-Gi-Oh.
I've heard about that,
but it wasn't the best. There's been a progression, I think, and we've reached a satisfying point now.
Indeed. Yeah, as of recording this, we are less than a week away from Star Wars Visions, which is very exciting, but also very concerning. It's not very concerning, but it's difficult to decide whether to watch the dub or sub first, because the dub has a very exciting voice cast, but the sub has a very exciting voice cast. And yes, we're going to watch both eventually, but which one to watch first is going to be interesting. But anyway, back to what we're supposed to be talking about. The Promised Neverland. Synopsis, to give context. Again, as far as the first season is concerned, is the bright and cheerful Emma is an 11-year-old orphan girl living in Gracefield House, a self-contained orphanage housing her and 37 other orphans. They lead an idyllic life with plentiful food, plush beds, clean clothes, games, and love of their mum, Isabella. Their education is seen as important and a part of their development, and Emma, with her 2 best friends Norman and Ray, always excel in the regular exams. the orphans are allowed to complete freedom. I'm reading so. They're allowed complete freedom, except to venture beyond the perimeter wall or gate which separate the house from the outside world. One night, a girl named Connie is sent away to be, quote unquote, adopted, but Emma and Norman follow with her favourite stuffed animal toy because she had left it behind. But at the gate, they find Connie dead and discover the truth about their existence in this idyllic orphanage to be raised as food for demons. Emma and Norman plan with Ray to escape from Gracefield House along with the other children, but before they can do that, Norman's taken off to be adopted, and then Emma and Ray decide to escape with some of their older siblings, leaving the younger ones behind. That's how it goes down. That's as far as the end of the first series of the show. The manga goes much further, but I've not seen that, so I'm not gonna go into that yet. But yeah,
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
that's the first season of the show, which
That's
is
a very
again,
short
primarily what we're
synopsis
talking
for
about.
all the stuff that we saw.
Well, again, that's a very overhead synopsis. I don't want to go through everything in detail by myself. More so than let you guys go lead us through it as well. But I guess in regards to that, for Chris and Emily primarily, are there any key things that happen in the manga that the anime leaves out?
It's been
I don't
a
mind.
while
Chris,
since I
can you go
read
first?
it, but I
Yeah,
can't
before
think
you
of
might say that.
anything. I
Uh,
can't think of a single thing. So if they did leave out anything, it wouldn't have been anything big.
the
Which
only
makes sense.
thing that I can think of is like little minor things. So obviously the way I think it's like episode, the first couple of episodes with the Connie's little rabbit, little bunny.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently that wasn't stated as to why she's so in love with this toy in the anime. It's just, oh, I've got this. I really love it a lot. In the manga, it was clarified that that was specifically made by Isabella herself. Like
No,
she made.
Ah.
we did have that in the anime, but it was a flashback that she had ages ago, right?
I don't remember.
I
Was
don't
that?
remember, but maybe.
I could
Was
have
that?
sworn that was in the anime.
Was it
That
ever
was
stated?
when Isabella was talking about how much she loved her kids, and then it showed a scene of Connie really liking the rabbit. Maybe I'm completely
I guess
forgetting.
maybe it could have
Getting
been
that wrong.
implied through that, but it's
Maybe.
subtle for sure.
Right.
Yeah, but I think in the actual manga, it is clearly shown. Like even by flashback, you do see her make the doll for
Mhm.
Connie. Yeah, I don't know if it was overstated. The other thing that sticks in my mind was there was a scene in the manga where I think Isabella was trying to test the kids. So she was trying to test Emma, Norman, and Ray, and she was trying to split them off a bit more. So I think she'd have them clean rooms for a day. It was just I think it was Emma and Ray at one point, and Norman would be on his own, so he couldn't converse with Emma about what was going on. I believe.
I remember them having
Okay.
the bit where Emma was expected to help with the babies, and thus they couldn't converse as much.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I think that was another
But
scene as well.
I think they had
Okay,
that in the
that makes
anime,
sense.
that bit. I can't. Who knows? Maybe I'm just having trouble discerning between the two.
It has
I
been
mean,
a while.
the thing is, it's a very tight ship, because of how by the end of the first season it all does come back together for the most part, with a couple of very intentional loose threads. But almost every question that it asks, it will answer for you by the end. So there's only so many minor things I imagine you can cut out before you're just going to have people going, hang on, but that doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you just can't cut stuff out.
Mhm.
The only the only dangling thread that I can think of, which again is probably not it might come back or something, is it Minerva or the owl on the
William Minerva.
bookmarks? We hear about that once, and we never hear about it again at all in the first season of the show. But that might just be how it related to Phil noticing it and it being a hint towards Phil, being smart. But beyond that, that's like the only thing that I can think of being like, I feel like that should have come back, maybe. But
Mhm.
again, maybe it does at a later point.
Yeah, that is a major plot point for like later on in the series. I won't say what,
makes
but
sense.
it is a
Sure.
bit later on. Yeah, it does come
Mhm.
back, so it does get answered. It's just it takes a while to get there.
That's just a longer term one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like every other kind of like question you've got, the show does get back around to.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it is one that definitely rewards repeat viewings. So things that I wasn't picking up on like this time watching it that I had noticed in the early ones, which was really cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, going into more detail, I guess let's talk the first episode, shall we?
Oh
Because
yeah.
the end of that first episode is quite the it's quite
Hmm.
the thing. Um,
For me, that was the perfect first episode to any sort of series
Yeah.
where it sort of leads up. Like, I think because you sort of said to me it had a dark twist, that was what initially I thought, okay, I'll give it a go.
mm-hmm.
But that's the sort of show where I would have been completely like, you can tell there's something not right, but you don't think that something isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of nowhere, it just hits you with that, and that's the I want to watch this. That's what a
Yeah.
good show should do to draw an audience in. If that is what
Yeah.
the audience wants to see, going, okay, I wasn't
Sure.
expecting that. I want to see how this concludes.
Yeah.
Because yeah, because when I was pitching these to the guys, I was like, for Tom, this is a show that will keep you guessing. And there's lots of things that get uncovered as it goes. One of Tom's favorite shows. Again, if you keep up with Cabincast, you'll well know is Battlestar Galactica. There are definite similarities in some of the plot threads and stuff that has in here. So I was like, I think he'll like it. And then I was like, but I need to recommend it to Jamie as well. And I was like, but it is dark, so I felt like I need to put some kind of warning in there. And so I did, which gave you slightly more forewarning than I would have liked, but I felt it wouldn't have been fair to just throw it at you otherwise. But it was very entertaining watching through that first episode. With Tom and Jamie, who were both like, yeah, this seems very sweet. Not too sure about how sweet this seems. Because you were both doubting it by the end of the first episode anyway, but you weren't quite
Sure, where it was going to
expecting to
go.
see Connie, yeah, and the sudden demons
Yeah,
that
that's
the
one
show
thing.
throws at you.
Like it introduces a completely alien entity into this world, but it doesn't. Apart from why they're doing what they're doing, there's no real insight as to where they came from, what they, how they, I guess, started or took over, however you want to word it.
Yeah, yeah, we never get that. And then at the very end, when you get like the great musical piece, which again we'll come to, about them deciding to escape, and then it's the quick bang, almost jump cut back to Isabella with the doll.
Yeah, that was such a good scene.
So great.
The way the music, as you say, it went from this really light-hearted, sort of nice, sort of
Yeah.
we're gonna get out of here, and then it's a case of it's not as simple as that.
Yep. Exactly. She knows. What was it like for you, Emily, if you can remember at all? Ah, no. Can you hear us now?
Yes. Yeah. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. As I was saying, I think obviously because I had a bit of issues.
Sure.
Episode 1 was just one of those episodes where you just couldn't be spoiled. Like you had to go in completely as blind as possible because
Mm-hmm.
if you knew what was coming, it would completely just ruin the complete shock factor about it. And I have to agree, Oliver and Jamie, about your points about that last bit of the episode where it just happy and like hopeful, and it just cuts. That made me
Yeah.
jump when I first watched that first scene. It was
Yeah.
so good.
How does that come across reading it, Chris?
Well, this was again completely blind for me. Luke made a very good job of making sure that I had no idea what this was about, which is partly why it took so long for me to get around to reading it. You know, I think it was actually a Christmas day that I was just sitting on the sofa reading that. I'm just like, okay, this seems like it's interesting, but it's a bit boring, really. And then it starts to. It I don't know how to describe it. It definitely took me by surprise. But of course, it's not the end of a book. Then that's just the end of a chapter. So I guess it didn't have quite the impact as I just sort of kept on just going through after that.
Sure. And then obviously you knew it was coming when you watched the show.
When I was watching it, yeah. So certainly came across better though in the show.
Yeah.
You know, the visuals were a lot better because of course it's just black and white, and you can't really obscure stuff with shadow quite as well.
And I think the music helped as well. That did set the atmosphere, because obviously when you're reading, it's just panel, like page, and just really quickly. I think I remember the scene actually where you see Norman's reaction to seeing Connie dead, and it's literally just, I think, about like really quick. But in the anime, they built it up. You see the atmosphere, you hear the music. I actually quite like that more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this a bit at the end of our discussion, and I've got this set for later down the discussion, but we could just kind of jump around. There's no real format to it, but the way they animate the faces in this specifically is really good and also very kind of unsettling. But yeah, so the mixture of the music, the voice acting, which in both is great, the sub and dub.
The proper facial
and
expressions.
facial expressions they do really sells how uneasy and like uncomfortable a lot of this is.
It's like the thing that sticks out for me was just Emma's just sheer denial. Like as soon as she runs back with Norman on the hill, and just that, like, just no, that can't be right. That can't be right. And that was good. That was such a good scene.
I was thinking as well, another thing that. Oops, sorry.
No, go for it, Chris.
I was just thinking another part of the animation that makes it even better is a lot of these scenes where they're obviously very disturbed and anxious or nervous. They you even get a little bit of like almost quivering in their facial expressions, which really helps to sell it.
Oh, the scene! You know, remember the scene where obviously Emma's at the wall and she's looking at the picture that Connie drew, and then Isabella is like right there. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because we watched or me, Chris, and Tom watched Steins Gate not long before this. Another great show, obviously, but like in terms of like even in that period of time, how much the animation has changed, and like how much you can see the shaking and stuff, and the lighting in this as well was like really good. We commented on it multiple times, I think, and the use of 3D environments for the house, which just kind of made it look even more kind of claustrophobic.
Yeah, like some of the camera angles where it almost goes into first person and follows the corridor, and
yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Because I've yet to see. I know it might be a bit ahead, but do you know what your favorite episode was? Like from the whole of the series, like which one really stuck out to you the most?
It's something we were definitely going to get to, and again, we can talk about this stuff in whatever order. It really doesn't matter. But I was going to get to favorite episode / favorite scene.
Yeah.
Oh,
we could do that now.
I mean, no, absolutely, we can do that now. I'm just thinking. If anyone has,
I have mine to mind.
Go. Go for it.
It's the episode. I've got to try and remember which way Norman and Ray go now. It's Norman, right? Is the grey-haired?
Yeah.
Yes.
The episode where, they know that Norman's going to be taken out, and they're like, right, Norman, we got this big old plan to get you out. We'll get you
Yeah.
up the wall and you can go. And then it just hits them of, oh, there's the ditch. There's no way he's getting across. This is it.
There's
Just
a
that
cliff. Yeah.
slam in the face. That was
Mhm.
great.
That
I
was
love
good.
that.
Sure. So, for me, I think my favorite scene. It's hard. I think my favorite scene is the one between Ray and Emma at the very end of episode 10 / the start of episode 11, where they're going over everything and how Norman knew what Ray was going to do already, but how they'd still been preparing and all that stuff. I think that was my favorite scene, even though that does stretch to like half the episode, but I'm going to count it. But I think my favorite episode is the very last one. Yeah, I think because it's really cool seeing like the Phil just being amazing, and all the other kids just doing their part, and then seeing like them all seeing Norman there even though he isn't there, and then how you see all the like practice games they've been doing has actually been to help them escape the whole time, and how all the things come full circle, and also the final twist of Ray being Isabella's child.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much because the humming, the lullaby that she hums, which you hear throughout the show, which both her and Ray hum at points throughout the show, which is a subtle hint the whole time, and along with his not having baby amnesia, that's not what it's called, but that one, and so he still hears things and all that stuff, and that's why. So it's all the things are there to make the connection, but like when I was first watching it's not something I'd even considered. And about him always talking about still having his trump card and everything, and it then being like, wow, it was him. That's just wow. Yeah, but most of the episodes there's some moment or something that happens that's great. Most of Norman's stuff is really good. Norman's awesome. Sister Krona is a character.
Oh yeah, especially when she plays
Terrifying.
tags for the tag with the kids for the first
Yeah.
time. Yeah, that was like terrifying.
But just her interaction with that doll.
Mm.
Sort of,
Oh, that was an anime only thing apparently. That wasn't in the books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just remembered
'Cause
that.
that made it so much more terrible. Like she wanted to be a mum, but she was very, very mean to that that doll she had.
yeah.
But
It was
yeah.
like she had moments where she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be a mom, and this is all good, and all happy with it," and then she'd have
Yeah.
like a twist of emotion where she'd suddenly like lose her temper and almost take it out on the
Mhm.
doll.
Yeah. And then how Isabella was so much more scary than she is yeah, also great. All the characters in this are great. In a nutshell.
Who's your favourite character?
Before we do that, Jamie, do you have a particular, and Emily, do you have a particular favorite scene or episode?
Oh, Jamie, would you like to go first?
You go first. You could probably. I have an idea of my favorite episode, but I'm
Sure.
trying
Yeah.
to. I'm currently recalling everything I remember, and
I'm
figuring
having
out.
to scan my brain like, oh man, what episode?
I'm just working out whether sort of I would be able to give you an actual episode number, but just trying to think of.
Oh,
I mean, if
are we,
not, just like I'm sure we'll be able to figure out vaguely which one it is.
so are we just doing specific episodes or scenes?
Both.
I
Both.
mean, if you have a favourite scene that would make that your favourite episode, you know.
I think
Yeah,
my
for me, I think
favourite-
That's
my
how
favourite
mine
scene was
works.
episode 11,
Yeah.
but the episode whole was probably episode 12. But
Oh, okay. Fair
the
enough.
one that sticks in my mind in terms of like episode scene in general was the scene when Norman was about to leave, and like he had that talk with Emma. Like that was a really good scene for me.
Oh.
That sticks out in my
that's a
head.
great scene.
And how she's like, no, you can, and like the way they sort of do it so that it doesn't let Isabella know, like, or she knows at that point, but it's the way she's sort of keeping it all under wraps, so just to not scare the rest of the kids, was really well done. And just the
Then she
scene,
doesn't, and then he
yeah,
throws the thing away.
yeah,
But also the fact that I'm 99% sure almost confesses to loving her, but then gets into
Mhm.
oh,
yeah, that was really
that is
sad.
a great scene. That was a
It
great
was,
scene.
yeah, that's stuck out in my head for me. But also one that was like really well done was, obviously it's really dark. It was the way Crone, like obviously she died, but because like the way that it cut back, I think I remember
Mm.
like cut back to the kids eating, and as soon as they're done
It
eating,
does cut. It's
yeah,
it's creepy.
that was that really added to the atmosphere of how creepy this show can be sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You
Sure.
didn't get that in the books, so that was a really well done. It was a sad scene, obviously. I was really upset when she died when I watched the show for the first time. But when you look back at that scene, like, oh yeah, this is terrifying. Like
Mm-hmm.
how this foe is, and like how big they are, and in comparison to the people in the house.
Yeah. Is that giving you time to think, Jamie?
Yeah, so I think my overall favorite episode has got to be the first one. Just the
Sure.
moments in the
Nice.
show where it suddenly went from that, because I've watched Made in Abyss,
Oh.
I still have
so but
Why?
that was sort of a gradual, almost like a gradual descent into madness
Yeah,
with how
I agree.
extreme the darkness sort of floated. But then there are other things about that show which I'm not getting into. But the
I know what you
way
mean.
the way the Promised Neverland did it, it just straight up was like it went from everything is fine to boom. All of a sudden it's there's a twist already. And then it goes back to the oh yeah, everything's gonna be okay, we're gonna make it out of here, everything's gonna be fine. And then it just hits you with that uncertainty when it switches back to Isabel, where you think, who's gonna die and who isn't? Like it's one of those shows that you expect something to happen to someone.
Mm.
That's a
And
good thought. So yeah.
Yeah.
As a scene, the whole sequence of Ray supposedly setting himself on fire as like the trump card, as like a almost like a
Oh yeah.
screw you moment.
Screw you, yeah.
But then how it all sort of turned round and it just how Emma basically went from we know she's smart, but she puts her priority is sort of like the family side of things, and then almost turns around at the
Yeah.
end. It's like no, I can plan, I can do this.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the whole episode summary when they escape, and also
Mm-hmm.
the bit with Isabel when you see a bit of her backstory and when their kids
Yeah.
actually escape. She's like, you know, I'm probably dead after this, so I'm just gonna wish you the best of luck. You did what I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is, to me at least, she in the flashback is so similar to Emma.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Like
But yeah,
yeah.
she
Like Emma could have
loses
become.
yeah, exactly. It's like she loses the
The
one
will.
the one will the guy before they figure out anything about what's going on. So she never gets really the chance to attempt to properly escape. But because of her, we get Ray, and Ray figures it all out, and that means that they do get the chance to escape.
yeah,
So
It's really sad. It's like Isabella, like, and Emma, their dynamic, like you were saying, it's like that Emma could have easily become someone like Isabella would it hadn't been for, Ray and Norman.
yeah, And I mean, it is clever because whilst Isabella and Sister Chrono and all the other sisters and mothers are terrible people, in what they're doing, you can also completely see how they get there. Because, like you
Yeah,
said, like when Sister Chrono dies, it is sad. You do still feel sorry for her, despite
Mhm.
how terrifying she is.
but they
Because
all sort of came from that environment,
they all came
and they
from
were
this
basically a
system.
case of you either do this or you're dead.
Yeah,
That is your decision.
it's
And
very
of
messed up.
course, only the girls got that decision because a
Mm,
boy can't be a mum.
indeed. Though I'm still not, again, and no spoilers for Emily and Chris, but me and
Yep.
Tom and, well, I think Jamie as well, we're discussing. We're not sure about Norman.
No,
Doesn't seem like he was
I'm certain that
being.
he's still alive.
I think he is.
And whilst
I
it's
mean, who
horrible to
knows?
think about, but those mums have got to get pregnant to have the kids to
Mm.
prove that they're good mums
Mm-hmm.
in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Yep.
obviously they want intelligent for better
Yep.
yield in
Yep.
that sense. So that's sort of my theory.
Yeah. I mean, that was our theory at the time. It was like, send Norman off to do whatever that is. Emma becomes a mum. Even if they both happens, they still have Ray to be the super tasty meal. So it's still, all worked out. But yeah. Cool. Okay, well, yeah, favorite characters. Oh, favorite. Bloody hell. I honestly got no idea. Anyone else?
I've got an idea.
Go for it, Chris.
It's got to be Phil, little Phil,
Ah, yeah, to be fair.
because
Phil is
he's so happy the whole time, and then you realise that he's incredibly smart. He understands what's going on, and he's taken it upon himself to help the next generation escape.
Yeah, he's basically the way he was just like, I'll stay here and I'll
yeah,
be ready for when I'll make sure everyone's ready for when you come back. That's such a
it's
huge responsibility.
yeah.
because again, it's something they allude to so well. Because we see him in the episodes with like Sister Chrono and people being like this, toddling around, like, oh, it's Phil, and then they do like comment a couple of times, like, Phil's pretty smart, like he's the one who discovered this book thing and stuff. But it's only when they tell him at the end that he goes, I did think it was odd
Mm.
that Connie left the bunny and that you guys came back without her, and that Miss Sister Crone was looking at. It's like he's picked up all these things and he just kept it to himself because again, he's like 5 or something
Yeah.
and doesn't
Yeah.
really want to be thinking about all these things. But
I think one of the funniest theories I heard about when obviously the show was coming out weekly and people were discussing like, oh, what's up with Phil? What's up with Phil? Is that Phil was like one of the demons in disguise. Like I don't even know
yeah,
where
I
this
heard
came
with
from.
theory.
Like he was just like one of the mini like obviously demons that are controlling like the facility or something
Sure.
like that.
I could see how you could see that. Yeah.
I could, but it just
I mean,
what?
I remember when the people who I was watching, when they watched episode 11 and you see Phil at the end, they were like, "What, Phil? No, you traitor!" And then at the 10 minutes into the next episode, they're like, "We were so wrong, Phil. You're amazing."
Amazing.
Which is great. Emily, do you have a favorite character?
I'm torn between Ray and Emma. Emma's just like an amazing protagonist, but Ray, just because I like his attitude is great. Like the way he just sort
Yeah.
of like just doesn't care. Sort of just not.
Mhm.
He does care, obviously. You find out later on, but just the fact that
Yeah.
he's just so damn clever.
Yeah.
And obviously just Emma because she's just such a good protagonist. Like to
Mhm.
follow as a main, because you usually with anime you get like the overpowered protagonist. They always solve everything, and what I
Yeah.
liked about that was no, Emma does not solve everything. She figures out a way to do it rationally, and I just thought it was
Mhm.
really like she struggles again and again, but it's amazing when she does pick herself up and does something. It really makes you appreciate her as
Yeah.
a character. It's like quickly off topic, but obviously like there's a character in obviously ReZero, the main character for that show is sort of similar, how you sort of see the character go through struggles, but it's amazing when they do overcome it.
Yeah,
Mm.
because you've seen what they've had to do to
Yeah.
accomplish that ending.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'd say it's actually very similar to well, it's not similar at all, but it's a similar vein to at least from what I've heard, because I was just being born at the time, but why Guts in Berserk was so relatable, because he
Oh, yeah,
granted was a
Berserk.
very strong guy, but he was just a guy, and then like everyone else was like Goku and all these ridiculously powerful people.
Mm-hmm.
And he bled and messed up and was a lot more relatable in his struggles. But yeah, Emma's like, she's super smart, just like Norman and Ray, but she isn't perfect. She does want to take all the kids, and that is it is a flaw. It's a very positive flaw. Um, but yeah, her like endearingness is an issue, which eventually, obviously, she does talk to Phil about, and they come up with their solution. But also comes up with some of my favorite scenes with Emma are the ones where she's like, I can't remember them exactly, but when she's more serious to Ray, like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact context of it, but
Oh, it
Didn't
was.
she, didn't she give a face, which was like, oh god, she's serious.
It's when
yeah, she has like a very
yeah.
threatening face. Oh, I can't remember what the context
Sorry,
was.
I think
but-
it's when Ray, like, they're talking about the traitor, like, who's the traitor? And Ray's like, oh, it's me. And he's like, what? I think that's the scene.
Yeah, I think
in
there's a couple
question.
times. I think towards the end of that, though, yeah.
Yeah, I think
She-
that's right.
Yeah.
Norman was like, oh, Ray, you need to apologise. And he's like, I did. And Emma's like, it's fine. Blah, 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 blah.
Don't do it again.
Just don't do it again.
Don't ever do it again. For me, yeah, I love Emma she's a very good protagonist. Um, I do really like Norman though.
Like Norman.
I do
Yeah,
like
Norman's great.
his kind of soft-spoken badassery, if that makes sense. Because Emma's just super excitable and energetic and all that, and she's great. And then yeah, Ray's very kind of upfront and can be very over the top, like especially in like episode 11 where he's talking about setting himself on fire and all that stuff, whereas Norman's so calm all the time. But like when he's talking about how he's figured out that Ray's the spy already, and again at the end when we're reading back through his notes and he's like, Ray's gonna do this, don't let him do that. Just a matter of fact kind of way in which he speaks. It's just really cool. But
What
yeah,
was also not a character development, but a scene with Norman when he knows, like he's fully expected to walk out that door and be killed.
Mhm.
Like they all, like the three of them understand what is
Yeah.
at stake, and that moment where he breaks down by himself because he's been holding all of his emotions in that entire
yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and then just balls, and then comes back almost like normal again.
Yeah, with
Like
the
he has to do
water.
it for Emma.
that's
Yeah,
fine,
that was.
And then
I forgot about that.
Emma and Ray are like
yeah.
trying to
Let's
encourage
break your
him.
arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that moment too. Yeah, incredibly strong-willed.
Yeah.
It's great. But then also, like Sister Crone and Isabella are both really, really well written as characters and really creepy. Um,
Yeah, because Isabel bounces very
mhm,
easily between caring mother and cynical guard.
yeah.
Because she's
Like
all
with
nice and I'll
Sister
say
Crone, you know
goodbye
where
to
you're at.
Norman, and then when
Yeah.
Emma was dragging it along too, I was like, if you do anything stupid, I'll basically kill you here.
If you try that
Mm.
again, I'll kill you. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I'd forgotten about that. And you get less of them, but we're basically just going through the cast now. But oh, what are their names? This is really mean. I shouldn't have forgotten their names.
Oh,
Tall guy and glasses girl.
Oh, Don
Don
and Gilda.
Gilda.
Dom and Gilda. Dom and Gilda are great too. I
Yeah,
do like how Dom's kind of really protective over Connie, and then when he realizes what's actually
Oh,
happened,
yeah.
just gets
The
like
scene
really
where they
upset
go
and
and
couldn't do
find out
anything.
everything slowly. Yeah, that was good.
But then ends up, being the one who's kind of like one of the main ones to lead everyone on, and is one of the strong ones, even though he's like, I'm not strong enough.
Like he's not the smartest, but he's still he's still a fighter.
Yeah. Yeah, Dawn and Gilda are great characters, and especially that scene where he cries because like he wants to be better, he wants to be stronger, like Norman and
Yeah.
Ray, and like you said, Oliver, is like he becomes a leader for the other kids,
Yeah.
like how Emma is a leader for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of their stuff is almost unsung praise because we only hear about it after they've done it.
Yeah.
Because they do everything in the months when Ray and Emma are pretending to sulk. You know, or Ray is actually off by himself because he's got his own plan, but Emma's pretending to sulk, but actually
Be
she's still
completely
planning
defeated.
everything. But it's Dom and Gilda who are actually having to go and organize all the others and everything. But yeah, they're great. Basically, because there's not actually all too many characters. Like there's an awful lot of kids, but we have basically no time with most of them.
Yeah, most of them are just sort of filler.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly.
It's self-contained, but it's the way it's done is well done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone through to certain extent most of the things at this point. Though we've touched on it briefly, but the music, the soundtrack,
We
is
do enjoy the na 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 na
lovely.
na na.
Yeah, it's one of the few OSTs which I am happy to listen to every time I watch an episode.
Yeah.
The only other anime which I do that with is Angels of Death.
Yeah.
Not seen that one. I have like a very broad taste in music, and I definitely think that helps. Because I've yet to find an anime that I'm like skip every time, thank you. But no, I do. I really enjoy the intro of this. The song's great. It's a very good gym song. Which is also good. But I love the intro itself. How it doesn't give anything away,
No.
but they say fire an awful lot, and there are matches and all this stuff. And when you get to the last episode, you're like, huh, that's very on the nose, actually, isn't it? But again, not really. But then when you come back to it, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of interesting. It took me so long as well. The like image of or one of the main images of the Promised Neverland being this clock with the knife and fork and the dinner plate. Like it took me months after having seen this, being like, oh yeah, because they're food. That's been embarrassing, but anyway. But yeah, the score's great. Again, the lullaby and how the lullaby transitions into like the really kind of uplifting piece, which is used throughout the show. Emma's theme is, I think, the most badass theme in the whole show, and it's really great. And then Norman's is a bunch of piano stuff, and it's also good. And all the other piano music and violin music is all really lovely, really adds, and all the creepy stuff. Like I went through
You're
and
just
listened.
describing, and all I can think of is Left 4 Dead Special Infected with the piano and the violin cues.
That's
Watch
not what I
out,
was going
Norman's
for.
around.
The theme plays
Oh,
whenever
I
Norman.
hear a Norman.
Oh,
Oh,
Ray's
God,
got
you get-
me!
Sister Crone as a hunter or something.
The crossover
Oh,
we
God.
never even knew we needed.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But yeah, great score. And I listened through to the soundtrack not a while back, and there were some themes in there. Some songs was like, what on earth was this on? Because this sounds so out of place, but it's like a whole bunch of the stuff for like the tag or like with Sister Krona. It's actually in quite a different style, but because it just fits with the scene so well, you don't really, notice how different it is to the kind of piano-y violin-y, melancholy stuff that you've got in a lot of the rest of the scenes.
Okay.
Which again, it's probably just the kind of the more musical nerd side of me coming out in those respects, but I do like some of the more jazzy elements it's got in a few places
Yeah.
as well.
I'm a
Those are
sucker
really
for a bit
fun.
of jazz.
Yeah.
So am I.
You like jazz?
I do like jazz.
Okay. Well then, while I'm sure there is plenty more we could talk about, we do have to wrap this up at some point. So, I'm going to kind of finish off here with our general any final personal thoughts and your enjoyment rating for we're going to go with season 1 of the anime to put a kind of more general fix on what we're exactly talking about.
Mhm.
Which for context is, how much you personally enjoyed it. It's not necessarily got to be, well, what you think about visuals or sound design or something. It's just, your personal enjoyment as a quantified number out of 10, because people seem to understand that or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I shall give it an 8.7. It was very good. It added a lot to the manga, which was already great,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing really important was missed out. It was only good, and it was consistently just good. And it's a shame there's not a second season, but hey ho.
Hey ho. Maybe the Amazon film will be good.
Yes, the Amazon film.
Sorry, the Amazon live action series.
Ah. Hey.
They're not Netflix, so there's hope. Maybe not much hope, but
It'll never be
there's
as good
hope.
as the Kakegurui live action, so what's the point?
Fair. Emily?
Yep. So I think, I'm probably going to give the series about a 9 because
Sure.
it was just so enjoyable, like from just start to finish. Characters great, really great plot, set up something really well. I won't go into season 2 because that, like you said, Chris, that doesn't exist. Not like it came out this year. No, anyway. I'm gonna give it a 9. It was great series, good characters, like memorable music. Everything about it was great, and just had a really great time watching it.
Sure. Jamie?
I feel like my rating is going to be higher because I don't have as much other anime media to compare it to.
Sure.
I don't watch as much as what Emily or Christian or even you, Oliver. I know you watch a
that's
lot now.
probably true at this point.
Personally, from what I've seen, I'm quite happily give it a 9.5.
Okay.
I generally don't remember anything which I thought that let the side down. The music was good, the framing was good, the bits of choreography, like with the when the clock's ticking and the camera goes between the two
The clock
characters.
ticking, yeah.
I think it was Ray and Norman when Norman had figured it out,
Yeah.
and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the only reason it's a 9.5 and not higher than that is because as much as I'm trying to refine it down to just the first season, the fact that it kind of ends on a cliffhanger and it doesn't really get resolved, or it doesn't get
You want a
resolved
resolution,
well,
yeah.
is what lets it down.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, just to quickly go before I go into it, the cinematography is really good in this show as well.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Which is kind of strange to say because it's like, well, it's drawn, but you've still got to think of the shots. And yeah, some of them are really inventive, especially some of the ones where they use the clock ticking. And they have some like giant clocks and things in some of the shots as well. That stuff's all really cool. Yeah, for me, it's probably about a 9 out of 10 as well. It's one of those shows that, like I said, I started watching along with the reaction channel. I finished much before all of their reactions came out because I just had to keep watching because I needed to know what was going to happen next. Which it being shorter certainly helped with, because like I love Steins Gate, but I couldn't binge Steins Gate quite as much because there was a lot of it, so it took me a little bit longer to get through. Whereas I love how concise this is. It doesn't overstretch anything. It tells the story it needs to tell. It's very concise. The music's great. The animation's great. The voice actors are great. The lighting was great. The setting's great. It's all just, yeah, really good. And yeah, I think it's kind of like I'm happy with where it ended. It kind of annoys me that I know there's more, but it's probably not what I want. But that's all we can say about that for now. Maybe we can discuss it more so in the future. We shall see.
I would be very up for that.
Yeah, we've got a few discussions that could be had. It seems about that and other media properties. But okay, there we are. We will end this episode of Cabincast here then. So thank you again, Emily, for joining us.
No worries, thank you for having me, and I'm very sorry about my technical issues.
I'm hoping they're all fine. It'll be very unfortunate if they're not, but I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah.
These very long quiet periods.
Yep. But it has been great having you. Obviously you, Chris and Jamie as well.
Hello.
If I don't say thank you enough, then my apologies. But yeah, that was the Promised Neverland. Great show. I hope if you have listened to this, you've already watched it because we have spoiled an awful lot of stuff. But with that being said, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cabincast. For more episodes, go to www.cabincast.podbean.com or use the Podbean app. You can now also find us on iTunes and Pocket Casts under Cabincast and on YouTube. The uploads here are quite behind. Finally, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cabincast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Filler, na 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 na.